Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us live on 24 Plus. Today is a weather impact alert day as we prepare for several rounds of severe storms. I'm Yvonne Cooper.
Yeah, meteorologist Trevor Burchett. Things certainly looking to turn a little rough this afternoon, and that's just with the severe weather potential. As we look ahead for the next several days, we have a major threat of flash flooding. But of course, the biggest focus today is that severe weather threat. We've got a new severe weather outlook out. This came out about 2 hours ago, and it expands the high risk, the level 5 out of 5 risk for severe weather. That goes for Memphis and much of the Mid-South. That's all those areas in pink. That is a maximum level 5 out of 5 risk, the highest on the scale. And again, that's for Memphis, DeSoto County, all of eastern Arkansas, most of western Tennessee. Other areas, they're in a level 4 out of 5. That is a slightly lower risk, but it's still a risk I want you to pay attention to. I don't want you to think you don't have to pay attention to this just because you're in the red. The pink has the best ingredients for severe weather, but those areas in red, they have plenty of storm ingredients as well. This all starts at 4 p.m. this afternoon. Storms developing anytime after that, and the severe weather threat continues through about 1 in the morning. So this is going to be an evening into the overnight severe weather threat. Severe storms likely, and the potential is there for some strong tornadoes. Now, that will not happen everywhere, thankfully, but there is a risk. The ingredients are in place for some strong tornadoes in parts of the Mid-South. Make sure you're planning ahead for this severe weather risk, and most importantly, have a way to get those weather alerts. These are our storm threats, again, from 4 p.m. to 1 a.m., very high wind gusts, a high potential of tornadoes. Now, what that does not mean is that there's a high risk of tornadoes hitting your house. That means there is a high risk of tornadoes in the Mid-South. We cover the eastern Arkansas, western Tennessee, and northern Mississippi. I do believe there is a high risk of tornadoes somewhere in that area, and some of those tornadoes could be strong. Large hail also a concern, and of course that flooding rain threat. Wind gusts also going to be a big concern today. They're already breezy out of the south, 45 to 50 miles an hour, and they're going to continue to increase through the day, even before those storms get here. We actually have now a blowing dust warning for Crittenden County because all of that wind is picking up the dust, blowing it across the interstate, and making it hard to see. So if you're driving around this afternoon, even before the storms get here, that visibility could be low due to those winds. Here's right now, there could be a couple of showers through lunchtime, but there's nothing to worry about until later on today. By 4 to 5 p.m., we do start to see some thunderstorms develop. Any of those storms that pop up ahead of the main line, I'm going to be more concerned about those. If we get any of those storms closer to us, those will have the highest chance of strong tornadoes. The main line of storms starts to come in around 7 or 8 o'clock, right along the river into Memphis and West Tennessee by 8 and 9 p.m. And then storms continue through 10 and 11 o'clock. Now, once we get to midnight, storms will continue, but the severe weather threat is going to decrease. So it is going to continue to rain overnight. We will wake up to rain tomorrow morning. But once we get to midnight, that severe weather threat is going to come down. This is a live look outside right now. Clouds are zipping. You probably notice how fast the clouds are moving. That is that low-level jet, the jet stream up in the atmosphere. That is bringing in plenty of energy from the storms. We've even had a few peaks of sunshine, which just adds more energy for the storms to use. It's 78 right now. It's very humid. It already feels like 80, and that wind out of the south at 20 to 25 miles an hour. Storm energy continues to increase through the day. By 1 o'clock, the atmosphere is primed for thunderstorms, and that storm energy continues to grow through this evening. This is 6 p.m. just as the storms start to move in. Every storm ingredient is on the board here for significant severe weather. Again, notice though, by midnight, 1 a.m., that storm energy starts to decrease. So even though it will still be raining, the threat of severe weather will decrease after 1 or 2 in the morning. So what can you do to plan ahead? Well, number one, most importantly, is be prepared. Don't be scared. I know this is a scary situation. People get anxious about this. I used to be one of those people too, so I get it. But as long as you're prepared and you know what to do, there's no reason to be scared. Again, there is a threat of tornadoes in the Mid-South today. That will not happen everywhere, but somewhere in the Mid-South we'll likely see some. So it's important for you to be prepared for that. Make sure you have a way to get weather alerts. Know where your safe place is in your house or your home or your business. Bathroom, closet, center of your house. That's where you need to go if there is a tornado. And plan for flooding. That's the big focus after this. rain really continues Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Heavy rain and storms will continue for several days. And once this all adds up, we're talking about a very serious flooding threat. 10 to 12 inches of rain, maybe more than that, in northwest Tennessee and northeastern Arkansas. So I know today, this evening, we're worried about the tornado threat, the wind threat, the hail threat. But after this, it becomes more of a heavy rainfall threat with some serious catastrophic flooding possible in Memphis and points to the north. 6 to 8 inches in Memphis, slightly lower amounts in North Mississippi, but still 2 to 4 inches. So a weather impact alert in effect for today, tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday. For today, that impact alert is going to be for the threat of severe weather. A level 5 out of 5 severe weather risk. Strong tornadoes possible, high wind gusts and hail. Again, I don't say this to scare you. I don't want to get you worked up. But unfortunately, on a day like this, I can't hold your hand and tell you it's all going to be sunshine. This is a day that we could have very serious weather for parts of the Mid-South, and it is imperative that you stay close to the forecast. The next few days, the severe weather threat goes down, but the flooding threat comes up. There could be a couple of strong storms for the next few days, but I think after today, the focus will shift to more of a flooding concern, again, with some pretty serious flooding for the next few days. Now, we have crews from all over the country that are right here in Memphis tracking this severe weather potential. Ginger Z from Good Morning America, she is downtown as well. We also have Justin Michaels here from the Weather Channel. He's also downtown on Beale Street with an update at what the Weather Channel is following right in our backyard.
A very dangerous, potentially deadly next several days setting up here in the South and over a huge swath of the United States. We're in Memphis, Tennessee, and this is just one community. Also Jonesboro, Arkansas, and Paducah, Kentucky, all in a Tourcon of 9, and all the little surrounding towns around those larger metro areas in a Tourcon of 9. That is highlighting the risk for potentially deadly long-track tornadoes, also a very increased hail threat for what we're talking about, huge hail coming down, and also very strong, potentially hurricane-force wind gusts that are going to cause major problems over the next several days. But that Tourcon tonight is going to be a very dangerous night for many folks. Take a look at this time lapse we shot earlier today here on Beale Street in Memphis, Tennessee, and you can see the southerly flow of those clouds, low-level clouds going from south to north. If you look beyond them, may be difficult to see, but further up in the atmosphere, you're seeing other cloud levels going from west to east, highlighting the shear in the atmosphere. It's going to be a very dangerous afternoon and evening for many, many people. But that's not where the threats stop. We also have a very dangerous flood threat. A particularly dangerous situation flood watch has been issued for northern Arkansas. And also take note to this map how the flood watch itself extends to a huge swath of the United States. All those people under the risk for that flooding over the next several days. Some areas could see 8 to 15 inches of rain.
As you can tell, all eyes are on Memphis and the Mid-South right now as we continue to track the severe weather that is headed our way in just a few hours. Joining us and continuing our team coverage is Leah Williams, who's been following how people are prepping here in the Mid-South and preparing for that strong wind and potential flooding. Leah, this is just video weeks ago that we've seen in our area of just flooding that was already here. Yeah, that flooding is a big concern, and we can't stress that enough. I mean, like you said, this was in Dyersburg just a few weeks ago when there was flooding there in February. And when it comes to that flooding, those creeks, rivers, and low-lying areas could be the most susceptible. So definitely watch out if you live near any of those areas. Now, if you have not started prepping yet this morning, you still have a little bit of time before those storms start rolling in later this evening. But it's so important to prepare today. Make sure you have an emergency kit, not only in your home, but also in your vehicle if you do have to leave the house. Also have multiple ways to get weather alert when those storms do hit. Again, avoid those areas that you know tend to flood. Plus, watch out for any possible downed trees or limbs or even power lines. Now, the city of Memphis has crews out today finishing up clearing some storm drains. And if you haven't already, make sure to clean out your gutters. Now, meanwhile, again, in Dyer County, those people are still recovering from those floods back in February. And emergency crews this morning are monitoring the flood risks there for the rest of this week. The Dyer County Emergency Management Agency says the rivers are low right now, but they say heavy rain in this short period of time or even runoff from other rivers that are north of Dyer County could cause some issues.
They need to be prepared to move or to deal with flooding. We're not anticipating it as bad as February, but a lot of variables could come into place that could change that.
And like we've been saying all morning, it's critical to have a plan and multiple ways to get those emergency alerts, because it could be a very dangerous day here in the Mid-South.
Absolutely. We know Dyer County has been dealing with a lot of that flooding just a few months ago. Trevor, how much rain could they expect once again in this severe weather impact?
Yeah, well, you heard him say things might not be as bad as last time. And the reason he said that is because the storm that came through last time and dumped all that rain, the rivers were already heavy. They were already full. This time, thankfully, we're coming in with decently low river levels, so the rivers can hold a little bit more water, but many models have 10 to 15 inches of rain through the northern part of the area, through Mississippi County, Lauderdale County, up to Dyer County. There's not many rivers that can hold all that, right? And the ground can only hold so much. And when the ground gets full, 3 to 4 inches of rain, the water has nowhere else to go. It starts running off. It goes into those creeks and streams. It goes into the roadways. And I think we have a very serious flooding potential, especially in Memphis and points to the north. North Mississippi might get out of the worst of the flooding. I think North Mississippi over the next few days will get some more breaks in the rain. They might have a few extra hours of dry weather. Up in northern Tennessee, northwest Tennessee, northeast Arkansas, those areas are barely going to get a break from the rain, and that's why we're most concerned up there.
The trouble spot that we're worried about
Yeah.
too. But just even looking at this map,
Yeah.
seeing that 5 out of 5 higher risk of severe weather, talk to us about how rare this is. We don't see this every day.
A level 5 out of 5, this is what the Storm Prediction Center calls a high risk for severe weather, and it takes a lot of ingredients for something like this to be issued. These are very rare, and they are really only issued when the Storm Prediction Center is almost certain that there is going to be dangerous severe weather. The last one we had, March 31st, 2023. That was the day of the Wynn tornado, the day of the Covington tornado, and the day of the McNairy County tornado. And it's hard to say. A lot of people are asking, is this going to be like that? Well, you can't really compare two storms until they happen. What I can tell you is that all of the ingredients are in place for severe weather. Beyond a miracle, we are going to have pretty rough severe weather across the Mid-South and could have some pretty strong tornadoes and dangerous tornadoes. I mean, just to put it into comparison, the last couple of times we've had a high risk like this, again, it was March 31st, 2023. Before that, you have to go back to like April 2011 when we had those awful tornadoes in Alabama. Before that, February 5th, 2008. If you were around here back then, you remember that day. That was Super Tuesday. That's when Hickory Ridge Mall in Memphis got hit by a tornado and the airport got hit. That's also another time to tell you that the bluff does not stop tornadoes. I've had people say, oh, I'm on the bluff. It does not matter. The storms do not care about the bluff. Memphis has been hit before and could be hit again. Hopefully not today, but don't have that false sense of security that the bluff is going to stop it, because back in 2008, Memphis took a direct hit from a tornado. Nashville's been hit before.
Yes.
Bluff, city, it doesn't matter. The tornado goes where it wants to go.
And then like you were saying, I mean, even these areas that don't have a level 5 risk, how should they still prepare today?
Well, I mean, when you look at the scale, there is a slightly lower risk for like North Mississippi. They're in that red. That's a 4 out of 5. That's still on the higher end of the scale. A 4 out of 5 is very serious. Even if we didn't have the 5 out of 5, we would be really talking about that 4 out of 5 threat. The reason it's a little lower down there is because by the time the storms get there, that storm energy is going to start to come down a little bit. Not to say it will go away completely, but that energy goes down just a little bit. There still could be very rough, severe weather in those areas. The ingredients are just not as high as they are here in the pink area. So I really don't want you to focus too much on what color you're in, what number you're in. I've had people sending me their location on Google Maps and asking, am I in the red or the pink? It does not matter. Assume everybody's in the pink, because the storm ingredients are the same for everybody. I'd rather you, be aware of the threat and be prepared for the possibility than to try to determine what color you're in. Because yes, a human drew this map, right? A human drew that line. Mother Nature does not see that line on the map when she is sending storms through. So just be aware, it could be a bad day anywhere in the Mid-South with these storm ingredients in place.
Yeah. Leah's been talking about preparedness all day, so have we.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the timing of it all. Say if you're watching this and you're at work, when should you be home and in your safe place if you need to be?
If you're in the Mid-South, by the way, we call the Mid-South West Tennessee, East Arkansas, North Mississippi. Pretty much if you're on this map, which most people watching us are, I would be where I was going by 5 o'clock. and I would stay there. That also means if you're in a mobile home or a manufactured home, I would be somewhere safer by 5 o'clock. Great time to visit with friends and family. Have a sleepover with grandma. I'm sure she would love it for you to come visit her. But if you are in one of those mobile or manufactured homes, I get it. They're convenient. You can move your house wherever you want. I know a lot of people that lives in manufactured homes. But on a day like today, that's not a safe place to be. So wherever you are going to be for this event, 5 p.m., I would be off the roads because storms could be developing by then.
And then we know power outages obviously could be a possibility. How should people prepare for that, and what should they do if they do experience those outages?
Well, first off, charge your phones. Make sure those are charged, because with the ABC 24 app, you can keep streaming us on your phone if your power goes out. Flashlights, things like that. You don't want to deal with generators, unless they're outside. You don't want to bring a generator in your house, and you don't want to deal with candles too much. We have way too many people that lose their lives in severe weather, not because of the storm, but because they've lit power poles and knocking out power too. So plan for power outages for the next few days.
And you've mentioned a couple of things to have at home, the batteries, the flashlights, things like that. Another thing that we do want to make sure that you know is not to panic buy.
Yes.
I know that becomes an issue and a problem and a thing that we kind of think and feel like we need to do, but you don't. Have a few items at your home, but leave the rest in the store so that everybody can get a little bit of what they need, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
This is an extended severe weather situation. We have 4 days of very heavy rain and storms. 4 days is not a month. You do not need to stock up on things for a month. I would definitely have batteries, a pack of batteries that you can go through, portable phone chargers, things like that. As far as food and things like that, you're not going to be stuck in your house. It's going to be bad tonight, but the next few days are mainly just going to be rain. That severe weather threat goes down. No one's going to be stuck in their home for 4 days, right? So you don't need to stockpile food or anything crazy like that. But for tonight, batteries, power outages, things like that.
And if there is flooding or if a tornado does strike, where should people go? Or what should they do?
Yeah, so a lot of times if that happens, there are a lot of local emergency managers that will set things up. I think a lot of ones we've spoken to are already kind of preparing for that. I think back to when 2 years ago, not to say that we're going to have anything like that, but I mean, it's possible on a day like this. In a couple of hours, the crews had, temporary shelters and temporary housing up. So if unfortunately the worst does happen, and you are impacted directly by this, by a storm, either by flooding or by a tornado, check in with your local emergency managers and always look for the helpers. There's always going to be people that are helping. I know this feels tight, this feels rough that we're going to have to go through this, but there are people that are going to be helping. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through it together, just like we always do. We've had a lot of these risks in my 26 years of living in Memphis, and we always get through it. It could be tough for a couple of days, but we're going to get through it. We're going to get through it together.
Absolutely. We know that we have ABC 24 News midday at 11 starting in just a few minutes. But when is your next weather update that people can watch on the stream?
Yeah, so I'm planning on being live right after midday on our stream. So if you watch our newscast at 11 a.m., that's going to end at 11:30. I'll be back here wherever you're watching this. I'm going to be back at 11:30 with another extended check of the forecast. And then meteorologist Kit Thomas, he's on his way in, expecting a pretty long night for both of us. I'm going to try to maybe get a nap in before all this starts. But meteorologist Kit Thomas will be on the stream a little later this afternoon as the storms really start to develop.
A lot of information.
Very busy day for you guys.
For sure. Going to be a long day and a long week,
Yes.
unfortunately. Yeah.
You can always stay with us, of course, for updates on 24+, but also this is a great time to go ahead and download the free ABC 24 News app as well. You can watch that by downloading it from Apple App Store or Google Play. You can also just download the 24+ app and watch it on Apple TV, your Fire TV, or even your Roku. Again, we'll be back on ABC 24 News at midday at 11 a.m. Thank you so much for joining us here. We'll see you there.